One of the most important things that someone studying economics can do is use supply and demand to predict changes in prices and quantities traded. You can do this simply and easily if you follow a simple 7-step procedure. First, you want to sketch the graph of the good with price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. Price, quantity. Then you draw the supply and demand of the good before the event occurs. Demand, supply. You now know the equilibrium price and quantity before the event. Equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. Mark them on the axis. They are the initial values for price and quantity. Now, after you do that, identify whether or not the event shifts the demand curve, and if needed, draw a second demand curve showing the demand after the event occurs. If the event increases demand, the demand curve shifts to the right. If the event decreases demand, the demand curve shifts to the left. And this is going to be important. If the event does not affect demand, the demand curve does not shift. Go through the same steps for supply. Identify whether or not the event shifts the supply curve, and if needed, draw a second supply curve. If the event increases supply, the supply curve shifts to the right. If the event decreases supply, the supply curve shifts to the left. If the event does not affect supply, the supply curve does not shift. So now you're going to have an original supply and demand and perhaps a new supply and demand. Use the intersection of the supply and demand after the event occurs to identify the equilibrium price and quantity after the event. Mark them on the axes. They are the final values for price and quantity, and now you simply compare the initial price and quantity with the final price and quantity. If no curves shift, you predict that price and quantity remain constant. The equilibrium price and quantity change if and only if demand or supply or both change. This table summarizes the main effects. If demand increases, that's going to shift the demand curve to the right. I'm going to be kind of sloppy here. Quantity, price, demand goes over. In fact, let's get rid of that guy. Let's just get rid of that guy. We can do it. There we go. Demand and supply. And we'll use a blue curve. The demand shifts to the right. Means we're going to have price is going to go up. Quantity is going to go up. They both increase. If demand decreases, quantity, price, demand, supply. Oh, got it flipped around wrong there. Supply, demand. If demand decreases, the demand curve is going to shift to the left, which gives me lower price and lower quantity. If supply increases, this is quantity, that's price, demand, supply. If supply increases, the supply curve will shift to the right. And that's going to drive price down and quantity up. And finally, if supply decreases, demand, supply, quantity, price. If supply decreases, the supply curve is going to shift to the left, which will drive price up and quantity down. Let's do an example. Walk this thing through. What happens to the price and quantity of gasoline in the summer? And we'll compare it to the summer versus winter. So let's talk about the supply and demand for gasoline. Here's quantity of gas. Here's the price of gas. Here's a demand and a supply for in the wintertime. Put a little W there. Not very good. A little W there. Supply and demand in the winter. And let's just say the equilibrium price is, gas has changed so much lately, I don't use it as a good price. But let's just say that in the wintertime, the price is $2 a gallon. And let's say the quantity is 1,000 gallons. That's how much is traded in an average day in Richmond, Virginia. Now, what happens as summer approaches or we enter in the summer. One thing that's true about Americans is we drive our cars and we drive them even more in the summertime. We take vacations, we go to parks, we go to visit national parks, and we go to King's Dominion, and we drive to the pool more, and we drive our cars a lot more in the summertime. You might say the taste for gasoline increases. We want more gasoline more in the summer than in the wintertime. What this means is that the increase in taste for gasoline in the summer means the demand in the summer is higher than or greater than the demand in the winter. So the equivalent price in the summer is maybe $3 a gallon, and the equivalent quantity is something like 12,000 a gallon. We've got a nice explanation for why prices rise. In the summertime, it's driven by increases in demand. On the other hand, fuel oil, the demand for fuel oil decreases in the summertime. As demand for fuel oil falls, you would expect to see the price and quantity of fuel oil decrease in summer relative to winter. Let's look at another example. What happens to the price and quantity of gasoline when the price of crude oil decreases? Well, again, step one, draw the demand and supply, draw a graph, quantity on the horizontal axis, price on the vertical axis. This is the price of gas. This is the quantity of gas. We got a demand curve. We got a supply curve, and we identified the equilibrium price as say, we go up to $2, and equilibrium quantity is still 1,000. Now, this is the supply and demand when the price of crude oil is high. P of oil H. P of oil is H. So here the price of oil is high. We've got a supply and demand in that setting. Something happens. The price of crude oil decreases. Now think about it. Do you buy crude oil? I don't think you do. You probably don't even know exactly what the price of crude oil is. A few years ago, we got to $120 a barrel. Then it fell to below 30. It might have fallen below 30. It fell below 40. I know that. Now apparently it's crept up to be about 50. But we don't track it. We don't really care about it. We know that the price of crude oil may affect refiners and gasoline companies and oil companies, but it doesn't affect us very directly because we don't buy it. But we do know that the crude oil companies buy it, and they care a lot about it. When the price of crude oil decreases, their cost of making gasoline goes down. As the cost of making gasoline goes down, the supply of gasoline is going to start to rise. This is price of oil when it's low. Our demand's not going to change because we don't buy crude oil. We don't really care what the price of crude oil is. We do care a lot about the price of gasoline. Refineries care about the price of crude oil because it affects their cost. When the price of crude oil decreases, the supply of gasoline will go up. The new equilibrium point has a higher quantity and a lower price. So as the price of crude oil decreases, we would predict that the equilibrium price, we would predict that the price of gasoline would fall and the quantity of gasoline would increase. Now you can sort of put two and two together. You can often figure out what is happening to a market by observing what happens to price and quantity. If both price and quantity go up, that's consistent with an increase in demand. When demand rises, both price and quantity rise. On the other hand, if they both decrease, that's consistent with a decrease in demand. If you see price rising and quantity decreasing, that's consistent with a decrease in supply. Or if you see price decreasing and quantity increasing, that is consistent with an increase in supply.